Okay, not sure why the camera turned off. I guess it was just overwhelmed with this lecture. Too much information. Well, Xerxes had been defeated in the Persian War, let's say about 480 BCE. 150 years later, Alexander goes to the Greek people and says, we need to invade Persia. Why? Because of what they did here. When they were here invading, they burned our temples. Someone should have said, excuse me, Alexander, that was 150 years ago. Can we just kind of forget about it? It would be like me saying to you, we need to invade the South because of what they did at Fort Sumter. You'd be like, that was a long time ago. Can we let it go? But no, you don't say that to Alexander, who had really inherited Greece. His father had invaded and conquered the Greek city-states, making it a kingdom. So the independence of the city-states was gone. It's now Alexander's kingdom, Macedon and Greece. And they invade and they win. They defeat Persia. They defeat the Persian emperor. They take Egypt. And Alexander demands to be worshipped as a god. Something the Persians did not want to do. Because the Persians had an image of a devil. And to them, the devil looked like Alexander. This kind of handsome, white dude, basically, with horns coming out of his forehead, kind of like Hellboy horns, before he shaved them off. Yeah, there's statues of Alexander in Iran today with devil horns. I'm not sure where the horns came from, where that whole kind of symbology came from, but anyway, they saw Alexander as the devil. And he, for good reason, perhaps, okay? Alexander, as I said previously, will die on the road back to Greece after his troops begin to rebel because he'd started to invade India, and it was just too long and too far, and the troops were exhausted after 12 years. He dies on the road home, and the kingdom will be split up. The large kingdom now will be split up between a guy named Antigonus, who takes kind of Greece and Macedon, Seleucus, who takes Persia, establishing the Seleucid dynasty, and a dude named Ptolemy, which is a really weird spelling name, Ptolemy. Ptolemy will take Egypt. So the kingdom broken up. In the midst of this, let me just make sure my camera's still working, because it's bad enough to be talking alone, but if the camera's not even filming, then it's really frustrating to have to do this a couple times. All right, what did the Persian people believe? Well, early on, as they migrated in, would have been those Aryan beliefs. Thunderbolt-wielding God, like Indra, right? Well, isn't that what the Greeks believed? Yes, right? Some of the Greek forefathers, and some of the Persian forefathers, and some of the Aryan forefathers and mothers were Indo-European. They brought their religions with them. Okay? And they intermingled with the people living in, well, India, Persia, or Greece, wherever they ended up. So, Indo-European beliefs. Within this desert people, Persia largely desert, fire became really important. Okay? Deserts get cold at night. You need fire. There's not a lot of fuel. Fire is actually really rare. It brings people together. If you see a fire in the desert, you go toward it. It brought people together into community. So within this faith, we will call Zoroastrianism that will arise. Fire becomes really important, kind of an eternal flame. Well, about 2,500 years ago, maybe, or maybe longer, we don't know, a prophet, we believe, a priest, a Brahmin of the old religion had a revelation. We believe standing in a cold stream of water, had this sudden realization that all the gods are phony, there's only one God. I guess all of them except one is phony, right? All of these gods are really just demons, okay? There's one true God, Mazda, who's supported by angels, I'm using Western terms, who's locked in cosmic battle against the devil figure, Ahriman or Angimanyu. And the whole cosmos is filled with conflict between good and evil. It's this very binary faith in the beginning. It's evolved over time, okay, to be more metaphorical. But in the early age, it's more God versus the devil, okay, cosmic battle. You get to pick sides. And this religion, in some ways, is simpler, right? There's a God and a devil. Each of them have angels or demons assisting. And you get to choose. So we see an early idea of a free will, okay? You get to choose sides. If you lie, if you cheat, if you steal, if you don't have good thoughts, good words, good deeds, you're joining Angimanyu, the devil. But if you have good thoughts, good words, good deeds, you will join Ahura Mazda, Mazda, the great wise Lord. And at the end of the battle, you will join Mazda in paradise. This is, in a sense, a Persian word paradise. This idea of a heaven and a last judgment These are all new concepts that will be very influential, historians would argue, to Judaism, to Christianity, and eventually to Islam. Coming from this faith that many of us have not heard of before. I guess I have, but maybe you have not, right? Zoroastrianism. These oral traditions, these hymns are eventually written down. So the priest would sing these hymns. You kind of get the song stuck in your ear for generations and eventually written down. This will become the Zend-Avesta, the core book of Zoroastrianism. So the prophet, there's a Greek name, Zoroaster, in Persian it's Zarathustra, and I can't recall which one your book uses, sorry. Let's use Zoroaster because we call the faith Zoroastrianism. Okay? So cosmic battle for thousands of years, and you get to choose. You have individual choice, live an honest life. It's okay to have pleasure. We're alive, it's okay to eat well and have physical pleasure, but do so honestly because you shall face the last judgment. And you do not want to go on the Shinvad Bridge, a very broad bridge your soul walks upon, and for very bad people it becomes narrow to the point of a razor, and you fall headlong, after your feet are cut up, I guess, onto spikes and you burn up. That's hell. But if you've been a good person, you walk on this broad bridge, and at the end there's a beautiful, well-formed maiden with 2 dogs. A beautiful, well-formed maiden with 2 dogs. I'm sure some guy's writing this, sorry, just saying, all right? Some guy attracted to young women who's going to welcome you into paradise. I'm not mocking the religion. This is what it says. Okay? Just trying to be a little entertaining. Popular among the wealthy who donate money. This is what happens in religion, right? Oh, shoot, I've lived a bad life, and I'm kind of at the end of my life. What do? Well, I'm going to give money to the religion, right? Build temples. By the way, this is a modern image of Zoroaster. I probably should not even be using that now. This is not certainly an image from 2,500 years ago. This is probably a late 20th century image. So just keep that in mind. Kind of an anachronism there. Alexander will persecute Zoroastrianism, which is why some Zoroastrians saw Alexander as the devil. Oh, I have a lot of time left on this, all right? I can slow down a bit. After the fall of the Achaemenid Empire in Persia, this is Cyrus's family, and the rise of the Seleucid dynasty, established by one of Alexander's generals, we'll see new religions arise that we call mystery cults. What will happen is Seleucus will move into Persia, can't really move into Persepolis because Alexander's soldiers got drunk and burned the whole damn thing down. Go figure. Ashes were all like up to their knees, of all like these great books of literature that we will now never have. Who knows what would have been in there, right? So these great libraries burned in drunken revelry among the Greeks. Anyway, bad Greeks. I don't like Alexander that much, in case you're having. Look, historians of like 150 years ago love this guy. Well, he's kind of like a proto-European. He's light-skinned and he's handsome and he's smart and he's a cuckoo guy, right? He's crazy with his own power. We call it megalomania today. So, you won't catch me calling him Alexander the Great. Right? Anyway, Alexander of Macedon. So, yes, he dies, Seleucus takes over, and Seleucus is like, wow, I've inherited this region, but these people look different than I, and they believe different things, and they're weird, and I don't like them. I want people who look like me, and talk like me, and act like me. So he recruits Greek-speaking people to move to Persia. And then they get there and they all kind of feel homesick. Oh my gosh, we're really far from Athens. Where's Zeus? He's on Mount Olympus, but Mount Olympus is far away. They turn to some new religions. Religions that will offer community in this world and salvation in the next. But these are kind of, for the most part, kind of secret fraternal or sorority organizations. You join them, you go through the rites of initiation, they're kind of secret, probably involve a lot of alcohol. And you become a member. And if you give your life to this God or goddess, again, you get friendship in this world, support, you get salvation in the next. One of the most, well, I guess I don't have it here, do I? We'll get to this when we talk about the Romans, but let me just foreshadow. One of the most popular in Persia was the cult of Mithras, M-I-T-R-E-S or M-I-T-H-R-E-S, cult of Mithras, who was, as it was believed, a general in God's army, right? A guy who died, came back to life, and was now helping to fight the devil, right? And if you joined him, you you can only be man, by the way, you go to heaven. The Gatha's more Zoroastrian texts are written by the priest called the Magi. The Magi? The Magi? Where do these guys show up? Well, at least 3 of them show up in the Christian New Testament, the book of Luke, after the birth of Jesus. Those 3 kings of Orient weren't. Okay? Those 3 dudes from the east following the stars, or the new star, if it's to be believed, if it's true, were Zoroastrian priests who were great astronomers, right? Like, who's winning the battle right now? Is it Mazda or is it Arimanyu, right? Look, I don't know who showed up. What I can say as an historian is the author of the book of Luke was probably not Luke, was probably a student of Luke. Might have been saying, like, this religion, this Jesus movement was for everybody. It was for Jews, it was for Romans, it was even, quote-unquote, even for those Eastern people. Because some of them showed up after the birth of Jesus. That might have been the intent in the book of Luke. So, yeah, the Magi were, if they were true Magi, were Zoroastrian priests, which is kind of interesting. Some more research that needs to be done. What happens after the 600s? 7th century Common Era, so the 600s. Arab Muslims moving into Persia put pressure on this faith. Arab Muslims respected the Jews. They respected the Christians. They did not respect the Zoroastrians. They just were not seen as people of the same book. They were not the Dhimmi. They were not people of the Abrahamic tradition. So they put pressure on them, high taxes if you're Zoroastrian, and religion will start to fade. Some Zoroastrians will leave Persia. A lot of them end up, I don't know how many it would be, end up in India, which again was kind of the eastern region of the Persian Empire. And there's still a large number of Zoroastrians in India today, though I don't know how many in the Punjab. Punjab's a northwest region where really home to a much later faith called Sikhism. And Zoroastrians have moved around the world today, right? As people have emigrated around the world, Zoroastrians as well, sometimes called the Parsi. I think probably worldwide about 300,000. So this is not a faith to which you technically are allowed to convert. You have to be born into it. So obviously the numbers are going to dwindle over time. Okay? Other faiths within the empire, be it the Achaemenid, Cyrus's family, the Seleucid, Alexander's general's family, or the next ones, the Sassanid, the Parthian, will be Jewish people, Buddhists in the east, as I mentioned, Christianity coming in from the west. So in many ways it will be a multicultural empire. Historians will argue that Zoroastrianism, with its idea of a devil and demons and hell and a last judgment and free will be influential to the continuing maturation, evolution of the Jewish faith. In early Jewish writings, we don't see a devil, we don't see hell. It comes later, after Zoroastrianism. Jesus spoke Aramaic, which was the main language of the Persian Empire. Certainly within Christianity, we see ideas of the Last Judgment and angels and demons and things like this, right? I'm not saying it's the same religion at all. No. Just historically, we have cultural diffusion. Ideas influence each other. It's just a historical trend. Islam, certainly, though devout Muslims might disagree, but certainly I would argue as a historian that Islam picks up on Zoroastrian ideas, especially this kind of cosmic battle between good and evil. And other faiths that we don't need to go into, like Manichaeanism, that really sees the world in black and white terms. There's good, there's evil, you need to choose, there's no in between. Well, not sure about that, all right? Maybe this is where Christianity is different, because, you know, for example, in Christianity, Jesus gets kind of put on trial for not following a binary. You broke the Sabbath laws. You worked on the Sabbath. Yes, but I was healing sick people. Okay, like, well, I think Christianity opens us up to a bit more nuance, more gray area in between. So, here we go. Seleucid, then Parthian, then Sassanid. Again, after Alexander, Zoroastrianism dips a bit, and it faces a recovery under this Sassanid Empire. Parthian, larger, Sassanid, a bit smaller. But by now we're into really the Muslim era, and we'll see in a future chapter. Islam will arise here and spread out, taking over this land. I mean, militarily, sometimes peacefully, but it was a military invasion. And Muslim Arabs will come and rule this region, intermixing with the rest of the population at the time. But Islam will largely spread by shadowing in the northwest India, across Southwest Asia, certainly in Arabia, North Africa, Anatolia, up into southeastern Europe, and even into Spain by this time, maybe just a half century later, by the 700s, early 700s. Social development. I'm going to let you guys read this a little bit more. It's an urban society, so there are highly educated people. There is slavery, but slavery is not based upon skin tone, race, or ethnicity. Slaves were people you'd be found guilty of a crime or captured in war. An agricultural surplus, not the most exciting stuff, but look, when you don't have enough to eat, who cares if it's exciting? It's pretty darn important. This would allow trade over a wide zone, okay, common currency. So some of those early achievements by Cyrus the Great are still extant, still in existence many centuries, 1,000 years later. Okay? So again, a very urban society, society connected by cities. And that's something, I would say, good that Alexander helped to promote. Alexandria, Bucephalus. Bucephalus was the name of his horse. There's a city named where his horse died, but it's a very urban environment. And in cities, typically, certainly in a pre-internet age, get people mixing in different backgrounds and ideas that can be really fruitful culturally. Yeah. Whoops. Wow, I didn't even touch that. My finger must be warm. So we have the Seleucid Empire, Alexander's general, the Parthian Empire, a war with the Romans frequently, and then the Sassanid Empire that will not only be at war with the Byzantines, the successors of the Romans that we're yet to talk about, but will also fall under Muslim rule. Okay? More about that in the future. This is just a bit of foreshadowing, and let me just sneak over to my camera and see if I have enough time to squeeze in. I don't, so I will put that up as a separate link. So there'll be two links. So you got this one, and then you'll watch about 7 minutes of Morgan Freeman, Story of God on Zoroastrianism. So Zoroastrians actually in California, and what they believe, and they will explain how the faith went from this early binary, God versus the devil, and you choose sides, and you go to hell if you choose wrong, to more of a metaphorical struggle, a struggle to do good, a struggle to bring light to the world, peace to the world, a peaceful religion. So we see religions evolve and change over time. Of course we do. That's what historians study. Change over time. All right. So, brings us back to current events. This really covers chapter 7, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do. And then the next video is Morgan Freeman for 7 minutes, and I'm not sure what to do for the rest of the week. So, wow. My apologies for speaking so quickly. Speak much more quickly in an asynchronous environment than I'm able to do in class when people are like yawning and telling me to slow down. So YouTube, you can watch it more than once, slow it down if you need to. Watch the Morgan Freeman video next, and email me if you have questions. Thanks.